So is it finally time that the international community intervened in Syria? Well, joining me in the studio to discuss this is Lewin from the foreign affairs think tank, the Henry Jackson Society. We're also joined tonight by the Syrian activist and filmmaker Halla Diyab. It's good to have you both on the programme. Halla, let's start with you, because of course you are Syrian. And horrifying footage, more horrifying footage coming out of Syria today. Do you think these chemical attacks are a game changer, in your opinion?
Of course, that is a kind of call to the international community to put an end to the Syrian crisis at the moment. And we have seen that any involvement of arms or military solution to Syria will just escalate the problem. For 2 months now, there was some negotiation about Geneva II for a political solution. Until now, we haven't seen any progress in this discussion of Geneva II, which could have saved many lives of the Syrian people. I think there is now a need for a settlement, a need for rebuilding and reviving security and balance back to Syria by political solution, political change of the government, and moving to a transitional government that will replace Assad.
Is that possible, David?
Well, actually, it's very difficult to fathom how this is supposed to take place, because the reality, of course, is that there is no chance that any kind of settlement can come through Geneva. Geneva is merely an opportunity for a president who doesn't want to take action to give a Secretary of State something to do. Some marching orders, try and do something, we'll do Geneva. That's not going to work. What needs to happen is we must understand that the opposition is not an Islamist opposition solely. It is not something that we can't work with.
So what do you think should happen to President Assad?
President Assad does not have a future in this country. It must be clear because of the basis of what the West has operated on, but it must also be clear because the people in the country have been very clear that they cannot carry on with somebody who has slaughtered them in this way. It's unreasonable to expect them to come to some kind of peace table. But let me just say this. The opposition, the Free Syrian Army, deserves our support, and it requires our immediate support because the strategic imperatives now meet the imperatives that are the humanitarian crisis that are there. Very simply, if we don't act, there will be a rump state with Assad, Tehran, Moscow axis, and there will be an Islamist-dominated rest of the country that is an absolute disaster for the strategic needs of the West.
Do you realize that any military intervention in Syria will escalate the problem? Do you have any guarantee that by military intervention we will have an end to the Syrian crisis? 60,000 jihadis.
What the guarantee is that the military intervention will certainly put an end to the use of chemical weapons. And let me tell you, you cannot allow.
What is the guarantee that will escalate? That will escalate the problem. We have seen what happened in Egypt just two weeks, 3 weeks ago, where we try to. No, it is not.
If you let a chemical attack take place without establishing those norms that this is unacceptable, if you say that there are red lines that are being crossed flagrantly by a murderer such as this one, you cannot possibly be a responsible actor in international affairs.
And he's not going to listen.
You must act, and you must put an end to these chemical attacks.
You've been in the same room as President Assad. He's not going to listen, is he?
I think it's not about Assad now. It's about the Syrian people. It's about the 60,000.
He authorized this attack, didn't he?
Well, the people that are being
yes, and that's why we need to get rid of Assad. But getting rid of Assad doesn't mean to wage a war against Syria involving Iran, proxy war involving Iraq, Hezbollah, Iran, and Saudi Arabia, and 60,000 jihadis who he calls the Free Syrian Moderate Armies, who are committing atrocities in Syria.
It is absolutely incorrect to say that the Free Syrian Army are the same as the jihadis. There's a difference between them. There is a democratic Free Syrian Army that we could support, and some jihadis on the other side.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time. But just to wrap up, how much longer is this going to go on for? How do you envisage this finishing, Halla?
I think that there should be a very rapid, quick solution through the international community to push for Geneva II and political solution to bring everybody to the negotiation table.
We have to intervene and support the forces that will leave behind a country that we can deal with, and not a mess of Islamist and dictatorship that we can't deal with.
Thank you both for joining me on a terrible story.
Thank you.